There's one thing that all of the best studios in the world have, and it's something that you can have too, and it might not even cost you anything. What's up, everybody? I'm the Derek Frank, and today I'm going to be talking about that one thing that every great studio has that makes it great. Now, you might be thinking there's a certain piece of gear, whether it's a Neumann microphone, or whether it's the perfect preamp, or the right plugins, or the right board. But we're not going to talk about that today. The one thing that makes every great studio great is the vibe. Now, it's something that doesn't actually contribute to the sound, except it absolutely does. If you're comfortable in an environment, you're going to be more creative, you're going to be able to record better, you're going to be able to mix better. This doesn't matter if you have a huge multi-million-dollar studio or if you're just in your bedroom. The vibe means everything. You may be the only person that ever goes to your studio because maybe it's not a commercial space, but there's one thing that's going to help you, and that's being comfortable in your space. If you think about it, the coolest places in the world are things that make you want to stay there. That's why bars and restaurants invest so much money in the aesthetics, because they make more by you staying longer. You stay longer because you're comfortable there. So let's talk about some of the most important things to give your studio the vibe that's going to make people and you want to stay there and work there more. The first thing, and one of the most dramatic things you can do to get the vibe right in your studio, is the lighting. Now let's take a look at what my studio looks like with just the normal lights on. Make studio lights white. Turn off accent lights. So this still looks pretty cool because of the way I've got my room set up and the guitars and everything, but it changes everything so much. So I actually have my studio all set up on automation. For instance, and I'm gonna bleep this out so it doesn't potentially make your home automation stuff go off, but turn on accent lights. And I also have those lights on my computer, so it's a really cool feature. And then to make the whole room a different color, make studio lights purple. The great thing with home automation and using something like Alexa or Google Home is that you can put all kinds of smart lights on there, and they're getting cheaper by the day. And the other great thing is, like, I can change the color of the lights just by telling Google what I want them to look like. The next thing to make the vibe great in your studio is the furniture. Now you might be saying, Derek, I am the only one in my studio. I just have a desk chair. That's all I need. Great. Make sure you invest in a nice chair, because if you're going to be sitting there for a long time, the last thing you want is to be uncomfortable, because if you're uncomfortable, you're going to be more likely to get up and leave. I know it's easy to get the $100 chair on Amazon that looks really cool, but you know, they're about that thick and they're not comfortable. I'm guilty of this myself. I've done it before, but I finally invested in a good chair, and it's made a huge difference because since my back doesn't hurt from the chair, I am more apt to kind of sit in front of the computer longer. Besides having a comfortable desk chair, you want to have some furniture that other people can sit in. I have this really amazing leather couch that's got 2 built-in recliners. I've also got the nice big cushy chair next to me, so that way when people are here, they can kick back, relax, they can watch the session, they can work from the couch, they can watch TV, they can play Xbox, whatever they want to do to feel more at home. The next one is if you're going to have people at your studio, and that is to always have drinks or snacks around. Now when I say drinks, like, of course, alcoholic beverages are a great thing, and coffee as well. You can never go wrong with musicians with having alcohol and coffee. My go-to alcohol of choice in the studio is usually bourbon or beer, and my go-to bourbon is Blom Brothers. Now, this Nodder Bourbon 12-year aged is the absolute best. I'm almost out, so maybe my friends at Blom have one hiding around somewhere, because I know it's a limited time thing. But having some good alcohol that you can share with your guest is definitely going to give that vibe. Coffee is also super important for musicians. We've got to stay fueled, and you never know like how late your session's gonna go. So you might need one of those late night cups of coffee, or you just need to jumpstart your day. I have this really amazing coffee from Todd Dammit Kearns. Todd's a good friend of mine that plays with Slash and Miles Kennedy, along with Bruce Kulick and so many other bands. He's one of the best musicians around, and he's got his own coffee. This isn't sponsored, but this is great stuff. It's the Writers and Rockers coffee. I'll have some links for that below if you want to find that. My other go-to coffee of choice is Spartan Brews. They also support tons of musicians, and they're just super consistent and great quality, which are very important to me. So check out Spartan Brews. I'll have some links for them below as well. The next thing you want is good Wi-Fi and a good workspace. Now, when I say workspace, of course you have your own workspace with your console and your desk and all of that fun jazz. But if you have people over, you want them to be comfortable when they're working, because most times they're gonna have their laptop or some other things that they need to get some stuff done, whether they're working on tracks or stems of their own. Make sure you at least have like a little table or a good spot for them to kind of post up and be comfortable. Since we're talking about having other people at your studio, make sure you keep it clean. I always work better when my studio is clean. Now, there's just times when you're busy and you're moving gear in and out and moving stuff around where you just can't really keep up with it. But I find that if I start my day with cleaning up, the rest of my day is way more productive. The next thing is make sure you have access to a lot of outlets. Of course, every studio is going to need power, whether it's for amps or for the instruments, or actually for lighting and cameras and different things like that. Make sure if you don't have a lot of outlets, you have access to them with power strips and extension cords. But I definitely say invest in getting more outlets in your studio. Now that I've moved into my basement studio, that's gonna be one of the next things on my list, is to add outlets, because this is an older house. It was built in the 60s, and you know, there's a few decent locations, but when I had my studio outside in the shed, I had tons of outlets. I made it so you didn't have to use an extension cord anywhere in the studio. And that was so amazing because, you know, people were like, hey, there's an outlet. It made it really convenient and saved you a lot of time and effort. You didn't have to move a bunch of gear around to get to it. Another thing people don't really think about is make sure that you've got good heat and air in your studio. When I had the outside shed studio, I definitely struggled a lot with the heat and air, but I did invest into a better system, and then I worked on ways to insulate it better to make it more comfortable. Because if you're really hot when you're recording or too cold, it's not gonna be good for anyone involved. Plus, it's really bad on your instruments. The other thing with the heat and air is make sure it's quiet. If you have loud heat and air, do something about it, whether it's build some baffle boxes for the air that is coming into the room so it quiets it down. You can do that, or else block them off completely. But whatever you do, don't let the sound of your heat and air mess with your recordings. Now, this one is one definitely pointed at guys like me. You don't have to do this one, but I think it helps a lot in home studios, and that is make it personal. I am obviously a giant Star Wars fan. That's why my whole studio is Star Wars themed. And it's just inspiring for me to put some of my favorite things and memorabilia down here. And it just gives it a fun look that I'm really proud of. So whether you're a sports fan or whatever it is that you're into, make it personal by adding those touches to your studio. Music does not have to be your only hobby or only thing you like. If you're not really into the idea of theming the studio and you want to keep it a little bit more generic, think of some things that you can do. A great example is my feature wall that I have that has the fireplace. This is the original fireplace that was put in the house when it was built, and it was, you know, kind of that dated brick, so I actually painted it to make it look like this. And it's really great because I did a glossy white, so when the backlights and the uplights hit it, makes it look really, really cool, and I can change the whole color of the room just from the lights. Some other ideas, of course, are like the distressed wood look. You can use wood paneling that is really cool and easy to install. Wallpaper's cool, murals, if you have some local artists that could do some artwork for you. There's a lot of different things you can do, but be creative with it. And if you don't feel like being creative with it, at least make it look really, really clean. The last thing I think that adds to the vibe of a studio that most people don't think of is the way it smells. I've been in plenty of studios that smell like a skunk in the backyard and also after a night out at the bar. You could say that's a vibe, and I get it to a point, but I've also been to a lot of studios that smell amazing. This might seem so silly and like, why does that matter? But some of your greatest memories and creativity are sparked by smells. So without getting too sciencey on you, find a smell you like. Whether it's candles or an oil diffuser. I have both of those in here, and I have certain smells that remind me of different things. So if I'm wanting to write in this style or I'm mixing this kind of track, I might have different scents for those. I prefer having the oil diffuser. I feel like it's a little bit more even than candles, and sometimes candles can give people headaches and then they get a little too strong, but you know, it just kind of depends on what you're into. Some people like incense, some people like candles, some people like oil. You know, it's just kind of one of those things. So if you're kind of at a loss at what you should do in your studio, look at some other great studios around the world. If you go to places like Blackbird in Nashville, which is my favorite studio that I've ever been in, every room is a different vibe. It has a different feel, different furniture, different paint colors, and that makes you feel different ways when you're in those rooms. And I feel like the tracks reflect those different feels. I could probably record the same thing in 5 different rooms and it would sound 5 different ways, not just because of the equipment and the way the room is built, but because of the way you feel while you're doing it. I am going to eventually do a video on how I did my room automation and just giving an updated studio tour, because I haven't done that since I moved in this space. But if you have any questions or have any ideas for videos that you want me to cover, make sure you leave them in the comment section below. Until next time, I'm the Derek Frank. Thank you guys so much.